Carrie Lightfoot of the Well-Armed Woman is with us on the program right now. Carrie, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good to talk with you once again. And, looking at this story, gun-toting women look for best places to conceal pistols. This was a story that came out earlier today. And I thought it was interesting. This was in USA Today. And so once again, we're seeing, Carrie, clearly the national media pick up and acknowledge something that gun control advocates don't really want them to. And that is that more and more women are, in fact, becoming gun owners and are becoming concealed carry holders. I mean, they're owning guns for self-defense.
Yeah, they are in very large numbers.
As USA Today points out, in Texas, women have about a quarter of the concealed handgun carry license. And they use this as a springboard to talk about the problem of where to conceal, which is, I suppose a concern for guys as well. But for women, are the choices a little bit more difficult, Carrie?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're clearly are physically very different, and we live our lives differently, and our clothing, is very different. Men every day have a waistband, and that's not true for women. So there are some real challenges, along with the need to train for all these different areas. I mean, a woman may be carrying a gun in a different location each day. So she really needs to be focused on where she's carrying each day and very well trained on drawing from some of these unique areas where she is carrying. And that was the goal of this event, which was just fabulous. You really couldn't design a better, more comprehensive opportunity to have classroom instruction on the challenges and the different options. And then the women had a chance to kind of feel and touch and try on, a variety of the current favorites for women. And then they had a chance to go to the range and practice learning proper technique in drawing from a concealed carry position. So it was just a great, very holistic kind of opportunity to get hands-on training and really cover the gamut of issues and challenges that we have.
That's awesome. And again, this event you're talking about was at the Quail Creek shooting range in Argyle, Texas. And it sounds like, again, it was very well attended. It's interesting. I mean, the takeaway, or one of the takeaways, it seems to me, Carrie, is that it's not a matter of a question of, what's the most common place you see a women carry, you recommend women carry, isn't really appropriate at all, because you need to be thinking about, as you say, under what circumstances are you going to be wearing what clothing? So you need to be comfortable carrying in a variety of locations.
Right, and as well as trained to draw from that variety.
Mm-hmm.
And this weekend I encourage the women, kind of talk to yourself through the day and remind yourself where that firearm is, so that they're prepared to kind of default to the training for that particular holster.
Is this something that that these new gun owners are doing a good job of? Because it seems to me like there certainly is that interest in training there.
I mean, there really has to be, and I think we're getting better at connecting the dots. I mean, the purchase of a firearm, which for many women, is for self-protection purposes, it really includes the commitment to training and fully exploring how they're going to carry. So we kind of talk through how to build your own unique, personal concealed carry system. There's a lot of things I think that we all need to consider, but for a woman, when you add in bumps and curves and perhaps physical limitations, as well as clothing styles, which change from day to day, it's really important that we connect all those dots and that all of these things happen at the same time, or is started anyway, when they make the decision to own a firearm.
Carrie, I got to ask, it's been a few months since we've seen Mayor Bloomberg announce his $50 million plan to take on the NRA, and, rap moms demand action and Mayors Against Illegal Guns under the Everytown gunbrella, if you will. And, since then, I think there's been this attempt to sort of otherize women who own guns. Is this having an impact? Are you seeing this, or are you having any women come up to you, Carrie? And I don't know, Carrie. I don't know if I'm comfortable with being around you. Are you hearing women say that their friends are expressing concern or displeasure over their gun ownership?
I think we are hearing about more conversations, and one of the things that I've been focusing on, the last couple of months since this initiative has started, is to get women to start sharing their stories about why it's so important to them that they carry, and how seriously they take being a responsible gun owner. And we're sharing those stories, we're collecting those stories, and women empathize with other women, and so when a woman hears another woman sharing her story about why it's so important, it kind of gets through more than statistics and facts do. And I think that's one of the key ways to really combat this whole effort, is to share those stories and get women comfortable talking about and really understanding why they own it. So I've asked them to write it down. Why is it important to you? How would you feel if you didn't have that opportunity, or if it was limited? Or have you had to use your firearm to protect yourself? Share that story. So, on our website we share tons of stories, and I think it's through women talking to other women that we will influence them, not necessarily so that they would own a gun, but at least understand and be able to accept the reality that we need that option. And I mean, it's true for all gun owners, but women have an especially large target on their back just by the nature of our size, and some of the physical differences between the typical attacker and an average woman. We have to find the way to equalize that and combat that difference and be in a better position to protect ourselves. So I think if we all share those reasons on an emotional or an experience or through an experience that we've had, we're more likely to open the door to those that currently are opposed to that to be more reasonable, and more understanding of it. Because most of what we hear from women who do not own guns is really fear-based, and it's really a lack of understanding how what carrying a firearm means, using it in self-defense, and getting them to even personally, watch news stories and say they need to watch and kind of look at those and say, what if that were me? What would I do? And I think it's women talking to women that will get them thinking about what their options are and how important it is for all of us to have the right to effectively defend ourselves if we ever had to.
I think that you're onto something there, Carrie. We were talking about this on the show yesterday. Actually, there are these polls out showing trust in news media in this country is at all-time lows. And I said something, and I stand by this. I think that we as individuals actually have as much impact in our daily lives as the network news channels do on the people that we interact with, if not more. Mm-hmm. And, when you talk about sharing these stories and having these conversations with your friends and your neighbors and being open and honest and upfront about, why you decided to become a gun owner and why this is important to you, and, pointing out these stories, showing that, look, these cases of self-defense, they happen every day too. Mm-hmm. I think that it is vitally important, because just as, we talk about one of the best things we can do to give people knowledge about guns is to take them to the range for the first time.
Right.
That's a fantastic way to get people to think about this issue. But if you can't get them to the range, at least give them that information so that they know, there is more to this story than what I'm getting from
right. And those that oppose our rights those that oppose our rights are masterful at tweaking at people's emotions. I mean, that is what is behind the Bloomberg effort at its core, is to influence women. I mean, women, you talk about a child being hurt or injured, you're tapping into a pretty serious space for a woman. And so by tapping into that and then tweaking the information to make, guns bad and that guns kill people, they're using that emotion to kind of further their cause. And we need to do the same thing. I mean, we are all very good at statistics and reading the numbers, and, here's the Gallup poll numbers, which are all very significant. But as you said, we're not really trusting the media, so the numbers kind of go in one ear and out the other, and we're not retaining it. It's not striking a chord with anyone. But when you talk to a woman or hear the story of how she was violently attacked in her home, and if it wasn't for the use of her firearms that she would be dead, you're tapping into emotions, and it can't help but trigger that kind of self-reflection of, wow, what if that were me? And that's the way that we change minds, and that's the way that we educate people. And I think there's just this wall to the facts and figures that we hear from the news, and that the better we as gun owners are at talking to people, and on any platform, if we have a group we can talk to or individually one-on-one, that's the way to do it. I participated in a fashion... I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I participated in a fashion show that was held in New York. It was a concealed carry fashion show a couple of months ago. And there was a lot of flack about, well, I'd never go to New York. I'm not spending any money in New York. Why are you going there? They're opposed to our gun rights. And, my response, was, what better way to change lives? You need to get into it. You need to get into the thick of it and model who we are and why we choose to carry a firearm. And you can only do that when you get into the middle of it. We can't sit outside of the argument. We need to get into it. So it was just an interesting response that I heard was about stay away from those places that don't respect my right to own a firearm. And I think the better way to or a good way to start changing things is to get right into the middle of that conversation. Put yourself right in the middle of it. Show them who you are, why you own a firearm, and why it's so important that constitutional right remain fully intact.
Listen, I agree with you. Look, there are plenty of gun owners who still live in New York State who need our support, and you don't turn your back on them. But as you say, look, and I realize this wasn't this was. New York is a place where, and New York State and New York City are two very different things. But a lot of New Yorkers are not going to get exposed, as you say, to someone like yourself and women like yourself in the local media, unless you're actually there, unless you're doing something that they're going to be interested in. So, oh my goodness gracious, a concealed carry fashion show? Come on, bring the cameras down. This is a great way to actually expose New Yorkers to the fact that, oh look, there are normal people out there. Unlike what the media wants us to believe, these folks seem nice.
And that's why the press loves these things. They really can't stay away when you're talking women and guns. They kind of come probably more with curiosity than they do with an ulterior motive. There's such a curiosity, and I just think the topic. I mean, what politician or what newscaster wants to come against a woman who wants to defend herself? You start that discussion, they're the ones that are going to be sorry they started it. So it's kind of a nice opportunity to draw attention, but really in a more curious way, as opposed to one that is bent on hurting our rights or infringing on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrie, unfortunately, we are almost out of time, but thank you so much for coming on the program. It's always good getting a chance to catch up with you, and I'm glad things are going so well.
Well, good. Thanks. It was great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. We'll talk again soon. Carrie Lightfoot joins us from the Well-Armed Woman here on NRA News, Cam and Company.